In the previous lesson, I introduced you to absolute cell references and showed you how you can lock a cell so that when you use the fill handle, it does not change it. Here I will show you a more complex process, which is the mixed cell reference. The mixed cell reference allows you to lock only the row or only the column of the cell that interests you. This is a bit of an advanced lesson, and as a basic Excel user, you will not need to work with mixed cell references very often. Nevertheless, it is good to have an idea of what can be done. If you are interested in more details about mixed cell references and the real power they possess, you can discover them in my advanced series of lessons for Excel. I have created an example that will help you understand what a mixed reference is and why you might need it. In the cell range A4 to F16, I have the sales per month and per year in this area. In column H, I have the sum for each month. What I want is to calculate in columns I, J, and K the profit that comes from this sales amount. The difficulty now here is that there are three different profit percentage scenarios. They are listed in cells I3 to K3, and I want to calculate the profit for each scenario and each month. I will double-click on cell I5 to see the calculation that needs to be made. Cell I5 should calculate the profit for all Januaries for the profit scenario in cell I5 for cell I3, which is 15% here. So all I need to do is multiply the sum from cell H5 by the corresponding profit percentage from I3. I think it's obvious that I will need to use the fill handle downwards to calculate the profit for all months for this specific scenario. So I want cell H5 to become H6, H7 when I drag downwards, but I don't want I3 to become I4, I5, so I need to write cell I3 with an absolute reference. I will change it to $I, $3. This is the same thing I did in the previous lesson, just an absolute cell reference. You already know, nothing new here. Now I will press enter. I will select cell I5 again, and with the fill handle I will drag down to cell I16. Okay, so far so good. Now the problem is that I also want to use the fill handle for this cell to the right to calculate the profit for the same month, but for the rest of the profit scenarios. In this case, I would like I3 to become J3 and then become K3. So what I really want is cell I3 to be locked as far as its row is concerned, meaning the row should always be 3, but not locked in terms of its column. The column should be able to change from the fill handle. Since I used the absolute cell reference, that means that I have locked both the row and the column of cell I3. So if I now use the fill handle to the right, cell I3 will not change because that's what the absolute cell reference does. I need to change the way I have written the cell and use a mixed reference. That is, I need to keep the row locked but set the column free. Here is how I'm going to do it. I will remove the $sign in front of the I, so it becomes I $3. This way of writing a cell is called a mixed reference, and in this case, it keeps the row locked, but not the column. The $sign locks what comes after it. The column, the I in this case, does not have the $sign before it, so it is not locked. However, the row 3 in this case, has a $sign, so it is locked. Having said all that, you might be thinking that I need to work in a similar way for cell H5 now. When I use the fill handle downwards, I want H5 to become H6, H7, meaning the row should be able to change. However, when I use the fill handle to the right, I don't want H to become I and J. Here I want to lock the column, so it's always H, but I want to leave the row unlocked so the fill handle can change it. So I will place a $sign before the H, and now I have a mixed cell reference again, which in this case locks the column and leaves the row free. Remember that the $sign locks what is immediately after it. In the cell reference $sign H5, since it's before the H, it locks the column. In the cell reference I $sign 3, since it's before the 3, it locks the row. Therefore, if I now drag downwards, H5 will become H3, 6, H7 because the row of H5 is not locked, but I3 will remain I3 because the row of I3 is locked. On the other hand, if I drag the same cell to the right, H5 will remain H5 because its column is locked, while I3 will become J3 and K3 because the column of I3 is not locked. Let's see this in action. I will press enter and select I5 again, and with the fill handle I will drag right to K5. Now see that H5 remained constant, but I3 became J3, and then it became K3. I will select from I5 to K5 and use the fill handle for all the three cells together downwards to row 16. See now that for this cell, for example, the multiplication is correctly done with the sum from the correct row and the profit percentage from the correct column. Similarly, here the fill handle has worked as I wanted because I used the mixed cell reference correctly. So what you need to understand is that a cell can actually be written in 4 different ways. The first way is to write it using relative reference, which is the most common one. You simply write the cell's column and row, and this is a relative reference of the cell. The fill handle can change both the column and the row in a relative cell reference. The second way of writing a cell is the absolute reference you learned in the previous lesson. In absolute reference, you put a $sign before both the column and the row, so the fill handle cannot change either the column or the row, meaning if you use the fill handle down, right, up or left, the cell will remain A10 in every case for the A10 cell. Here you have the mixed reference concerning the column, meaning I have locked the column but not the row. When I use the fill handle right or left, the A will not change because right-left changes the columns, and I have the column locked here. So A will remain A. However, if I use the fill handle up or down, the 10 will change, the row will change because I have left it unlocked. Finally, there is the writing method of A $10, where you have locked the row in this case because the $sign is before the row. Therefore, if you use the fill handle right or left, which changes the column will change this time. It will become B, C, D, depending on the right-left movement you use. However, if you use the fill handle up or down, the 10 will not change because it is locked. I want to emphasize once again that whichever reference you use does not change anything regarding the use of the cell for the calculation you are making. What changes is how the fill handle will manage this cell when you use it and if you use it. I realize that all this might seem a bit strange to you, and indeed it is. The mixed reference, if you have little or no experience with Excel, might seem a bit difficult. As I said at the beginning of the lesson, all I wanted was for you to have a basic idea of the mixed cell references. This is mainly an advanced level subject, and should you choose to follow my advanced course, you will learn it in depth. That's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching.